Coming to you live from downtown Detroit, this is Benzinga's Pre-Market Prep with your host, Joel Elconin.
This is a volatile puppy here, isn't it?
And Dennis Dick.
I'm bidding a penny. I will buy the stock for a penny.
With everything you need to start your trading day.
Good morning, everybody. Live from the Motor City. Welcome to Pre-Market Prep. Spencer Israel, Dennis Dick, Joel Elconin will be on in a second. We are not going to space this morning, and that is okay, but we're here with you to have some fun and talk about stocks. Question of the day, turnaround Tuesday, maybe? We bounced overnight? That's the question. Talk about it. We'll talk NVIDIA. We'll talk space. Obviously, Bezos is going to space. T-minus 1 hour for the expected liftoff time. We're live streaming that, by the way, also on our channel. We'll talk IBM. They had great earnings last night. We'll talk JB Hunt. And we'll take questions from our chat. Nick Chahine he will join the show at 8:35. He runs Create Income with Option Spreads, also runs the options side of Benzinga Pro. And that's the point of today's show. Really, that's the topics we're going to talk about, and the theme of the show again: turnaround Tuesday. Maybe we'll talk some bond stuff. I know bond yields are doing some weird things. As Joel put it this morning in our prep call, nothing is really agreeing with anything, which is kind of weird. Oh, well, maybe we'll talk a little crypto as well, because crypto can't seem to catch a break. Bitcoin futures are now 29,000. Anyway, let's bring Joel on here, and we'll go over some levels in the pre-market session. Joel, turnaround Tuesday. Am I right or am I right?
So far, and boy, market caught a bid late in the session yesterday. Never even seen that closing price at 51.50. Pre-market low 42.55. We've cleared the intraday high from Monday, and I guess just the question is can we get back to 4,300, stabilize a little bit to make a challenge of that all-time high? Crude, down $5.50, up 17 cents. That's not a bounce in my book. Crude, 66.08 low, up 17 cents at 66.52. Gold and silver going going the same direction today. You have silver up about a nickel at 25.19. You also have gold trading in the green just by a little bit, holding that $1,800 level. Gold is trading up 880 at 18.18. That's a nice round, a lot of eights in there. Bitcoin just a slow leak here, down 1140 on the futures at 29,550. It kind of looks like a test of that. What was that low? It just under 29,000. That looks like that's on the horizon. A lot of lower highs in Bitcoin, Ethereum. That's going the same way. That's down $62.50. That's hanging out on the low of the move too. So cryptocurrencies just not what they used to be. Triple D back in the saddle today. A rough day yesterday, but it took a while. But finally, the buy the dippers came to the rescue.
They always come to the rescue, Joel. I mean, they came to the rescue in the first minute in NVIDIA, though, and that thing turned around on a dime. We suspected that it might get the run up ahead of the split. It's exactly what happened yesterday. Open at the lows. I mean, on an adjusted basis, you can look at it. And obviously, the charts, because it's post-split here this morning. But if we're talking from yesterday, it was 7:15 in the pre-market when we were talking about the potential run-up for the split. That thing ran 40 points in the first hour, up to 7:55. Closed near up there, was up again after hours. I did make a little bit of money on it. I'm out of it now. Typically what you do see is the stocks open strong the day of the morning of the split, and then they tend to give it back. Not going to say this is textbook, but so far it has been textbook, at least with yesterday's action. Let's see what happens. I mean, obviously it's a market stock. It's a heavyweight in a lot of major indexes, but just if other things being equal and you're just looking at a post-split action, they typically open strong and close weak. We'll see if that happens with NVIDIA today, but that would be my quantitative prediction.
And just with it, doing that 4-for-1 split, it just, you look at the chart and it like before, when the 580 to 830 run looks crazy, but when you look at this and you look at the pullback now and you start to shape up the technicals, you say, hey, that low from yesterday, 178.66, that chimes with two other lows. But I think the number that everyone will be keeping an eye on in NVIDIA is, let's just call it 191. That splits Friday's high and the high from yesterday, right in between. So you get that, then you start to get in, things open up closer to 200. But chart looking good. That was your call yesterday. It actually traded 7.11 in the pre-market, which equivalates to 178. And look at that. The bottom left chart here. We talked about, the pre-market low and whether or not they take out those levels. Well, It didn't. And if you were trying to buy it at the pre-market low, then you got shut out. But even if you didn't strike off the open and you waited till they came back up through the open, man, you had a level to lean on there. Big day, big volume. We'll see what happens today.
It's all about a catalyst. I mean, we talk about this with our trading all the time and having a catalyst to lean on and looking at that. I was long space overnight just for an overnight trade because well, you know what? They're going to be talking about it. It's actually pulled back in Virgin Galactic now. Maybe people are nervous ahead of, obviously this is Blue Origin, nothing to do with SPCE, but we know space shareholders are going to be watching Blue Origin. We're going to get the flight at 9 o'clock. It was trading over 33 this morning, so I sold it. Just my overnight trade, it worked out well too. But there's alpha to extract from just being ahead of a catalyst, even when this isn't the company. I mean, this is not even the same company, but it's really the public play and the most closely related to it. So we'll see what happens. But I mean, SPCE likely to move, at 9 a.m. We don't know the direction. Obviously, if the flight's successful, or the flight's not successful. I mean, just meaning maybe it doesn't launch or maybe it does, different things could happen. But, SPCE is going to be trading off of that. But SPCE is pulling in right now.
Oh, wait, all right, so two things, Dennis. One, were you the guy that paid the 28 mil and then had a scheduling conflict?
That was hilarious. I was wanting to bring that up here.
Somebody paid 28 million and then couldn't go?
They had it. That's what they said. They said they had a scheduling conflict, i.e., they're way too scared to go. they won.
Did they get their money back?
They're going on a different flight.
It's going to
go on the first one.
It's going to charity anyway. So
they don't want to go to the first one.
No.
So I don't understand. This is like there's no pilot on this. How does this work?
It's all automated.
That's scary as hell. So what if something goes wrong? It's like, okay, Basil's going to take over the controls. Like, we'll land this thing.
Yeah.
It's completely automated.
Wait, real fast before we move too far away from NVIDIA, oh man, now I forget. The fair value based on the close. Oh my god, I had the
The
number
adjusted split
and
price.
I didn't write it down.
Are you
Yeah,
looking for the adjusted split price?
yeah.
187.79,
Thank you. I
75.
didn't write it down.
187.80.
Yep.
Rounding error. 187.80 is
Okay.
the approximate close.
So we're trading $2 above that this morning.
Yeah,
So,
which is typical. But like I said, what you often see happening, you see some strength pre-market. You might even see it open, but a lot of times they leak it and end up closing red. So I'd be careful buying it now. I think the smart money is more selling it now. The money was made yesterday. The easy run up ahead of it was a 5% move ahead of the event. So it's textbook. And if they're still going to follow the textbook, the stock's going to trade up a little bit. The pre-market continue to leak. Bring back the NVIDIA chart. How high have we been in the pre-market, Joel?
Let's bring that up here.
I would imagine we were higher.
I wonder if we got to that one.
Earlier.
We got to 192.
4 a.m. You know what the 4 a.m. traders, because they're screwing up and they got orders out there. That's why.
Dennis, let's get up tomorrow at like 3:45.
4 a.m. traders screw everything up.
Let's do it.
There's some people on the other side of those trades. So there's some smart 4 a.m. traders. The one that shorted that, but remember, shorting is evil. But the person who shorted that stock to the 191 buyer, 191.5 buyer this morning, congratulations, great call.
Yeah, 192.01. So
I'd be surprised if it doesn't go red today.
Okay.
That's my call. So as bullish as I was yesterday,
wow.
I'm not equally bearish today, but the event is now over. It is post-split. We like something to look forward to. You no longer have that to look forward to. I have no position in NVIDIA right now. I can freely talk about it. But if I was to have a position, it would be short.
And then the other, you alluded to, the effect for space in Virgin Galactic, and what I heard for the 3 minutes that I could tolerate CNBC this morning is the pricing. What's going to be the pricing to go? And they're waiting for obviously if this goes super well, then they're going to want. This is obviously to step up commercial flights and get So what's the pricing? Who knows? I mean, you couldn't pay me $350K to hop in that.
Well, you've said that, Joel, and there's a lot of people that I think. Who's the big names? There's some big names signed up. Isn't Tom Cruise on there? There's some big names, and maybe that's for Virgin Galactic. There's always going to be two. To
Dennis's point, I'm sure there is a difference between going on a flight that has pilots and a flight that doesn't, right? So Virgin Galactic because Virgin Galactic has like a almost like a Shepherd plane, right? I don't know how to describe.
Yeah, they do. It's an extra,
right? And there's pilots on that, and there are no pilots on this launch today. So maybe there's that. I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of people that want to go. I would go.
I would like to go. I don't know if I have the guts to go, but I think it'd be amazing. But then I found out it was only going to be up in space for a minute and a half on the Virgin Galactic, and it wasn't that exciting. It's like I'd pay $300,000 to be up there for a minute.
Not that exciting for you because you're on the ground.
Yeah,
not exciting for the people that are.
You guess you get the rocket. And you get all that excitement.
You know what? They should make a prerequisite, like baby steps. You should have to go skydiving before this.
I think so. I think that's a good call.
Baby steps to work up to a space launch.
Yeah. You know what I saw? Went out to Rock Suburban show place on Friday because they were having a swim spa and hot tub,
what
like
is a
big
swim
exhibition.
Spa?
A swim spa?
Yeah. I've never heard of a swim spa.
Instead of getting a pool, right, that you have to build in the ground and you can't, and you can only use it, when it's nice out.
Yeah.
A swim spa, it's about 19 feet. And it has jets.
Oh, it's one of those.
Yeah. And you can get a workout in. And then it also has you can also get a jacuzzi on it. So if you enclose it, then you can swim, work out year round on it. And so it's swimming in place. They've really evolved over the years. But the reason I mention it is when we were going out there I saw a place on the side of 96 and they're building a facility and it said indoor skydiving coming soon.
Huh. There you go.
Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, they have a place around here already, I think.
Yeah.
How's that work?
I don't
can't
know.
fall
It wasn't a
far if
very
you're
tall
indoors.
building.
I think it's in
It's
Compton.
probably all simulated.
I don't
It's
remember.
all probably all simulated, yeah.
Yeah, but
Anyway,
anyway,
The
sorry
whole
for-
world's going to be simulated eventually. We'll eat simulated food and drink simulated beer and watch simulated hockey games in Canada, and it'll be real exciting.
Well,
World of simulation.
you know what? At least we can do it together starting August 9th, because that's when the border's reopening for people who got the vaccine. So, okay.
Matt Miller coming in with the $10 tip early.
$10? Okay, well, we got to give a stock. What's a stock?
It's the one that we're going to talk about right now.
Oh, you're
Just give us
wasted
into the
$10 we were talking about
pre-market show.
anyways.
No. I want to get to this. Let's get to it.
He's going to take his $10 back.
He's taking his
Let's get to this.
$10 back.
Stock of the day, Immunone. Your next COVID vaccine play. Immunone said they had an antibody cocktail that neutralized the Delta variant in pre-clinical testing. IMNM. I last looked at this. It was 20. That was a long time ago.
Nice candle yesterday. Did they know this data was coming? Like, was this scheduled maybe?
I don't know.
You had it running up ahead of it because it went from, it hit 1460 and then boom, closed 1664. Now the good news comes out up 30%. So congratulations to people who were buying it yesterday. 2180. It's a nice move.
Ugh.
I would just say I'll take your level away from you, Joel, at 2357 high back on May the 28th. That's the first level of resistance. These things are wild, though. It's a smaller stock. It can do a lot of different things. I don't have the guts to short it, but I'm definitely not chasing it.
I'll give you a zone just because, you picked a good level in that 2357. Someone decided to stop this on a dime at 23. You backed off $1.20. So let's see, pre-market high 22.94. So look at that area, 22.94, 23.50. If you look at potential profits above that, who knows? You talk about maybe people getting a little inkling into the data yesterday, but what the hell? February, if you don't think this stock has some room on the upside, February all-time high 63.78.
Something else to consider, and I have people just pointing this out, is this is a low float stock. There are only 10 million shares, about give or take, in the float. So there's that to consider, and there's also the fact that you can probably bank on an offering headline in the next couple of days, right? So
that's one thing to always consider. Fantastic point, Mr. Israel. When you get these smaller companies and they get positive trials, they got to finance the next round, and you often do see an equity offering in the next couple of days, and that knocks it back down. So just be careful. The thing, we're going to have trading all day. You could go 23, you could go 25. I wouldn't want to hold it into the close for that reason. Because there often is that equity offering. Sometimes it's that very night. Sometimes it's the next night. But the next couple of days, it would not surprise me either if you saw an offering.
All right. So this is probably your big mover of the day.
I think it's number one on the leaderboard. Let me go look at my.
It is.
It is. Yeah. Top gainer.
On mine, at least.
Well, we got QUBT. I don't know what that one is, but that one's the leader that I got. It's up 36%.
No, but I filter out the super low price stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? That's just been that's trade like 3,100 shares, so very small.
That's not.
And then NRBO is another one, and it's up 36% here this morning. So I'm not sure if there's news there or not. It's a little thicker though, so it's pricing. You can get out actually at 380. Just saying, it's more liquid than that other one was, but that's what's at the top of the board today.
Yeah. Lantern Pharma had some news. They're up big. Voxel Jet, VJet had some news. They're up big. Anyway, okay. Let's talk about, speaking of big, let's talk about Big Blue, if we could here.
Sure.
IBM reported their strongest sales growth in 3 years yesterday in the prior quarter. EPS beat the estimate, $2.33 versus $2.29 estimate. Sales also beat 18.7 versus $18.29 billion. They gave some nice guidance on the sales growth front for the rest of the year. They said their cloud revenue was up 13% last quarter, which is a good number, and it was all good for IBM.
It kind of whipsawed a little bit on the initial headline, and then it just started coming up. So, and it's held fairly well, Joel. You often see whipsaw action, but this is not the case if we look at this after hours chart. It's been hanging and hugging around this 142 area for the better part of the entire after hours session and the pre-market there. So it kind of is finding a home of where it kind of wants to be. Obviously, once we get to the regular session, the big money comes in, price can move. But right now, they're pricing this out around 142. And it's holding up.
Did you get a chance? 136.
It did tick down on the initial headline.
It did.
Yeah.
It did. Look at all. I mean, in this, I just didn't make this up. I got to start putting the dates on these. When it went through that 136 off the earnings, it was like, breakout. Is it finally going to do something? Yeah. IBM usually pops off earnings. Well, it did. Had that nice run over 150 and then started to leak. And then you had change into C-suite, and they did not like that at all. This was that big old down day. That really trapped the bulls here. Now, you did get up to just under 144, 143.84, but my area of interest is going to be a little bit below that. And there was a pair of highs at 142, just under 142. So you are above that, and it's kind of a soft level because we've actually traded above it. But if you can hold 142, challenge that that pre-market high, and then you got to work through this candle. I mean, a lot of people did not see that coming. They got smoked, and we get supply like that, oversupply, boom, less demand coming back up. So we'll see. Really good target if it could get to that 144, 146.95. So that's another $4 away. But IBM just came down to that old area, old monthly resistance, found support, bounced.
While we're on it, we can also take a look at JB Hunt, which it was a quiet day for earnings. It's a quiet morning for earnings as well. The big stuff will happen, this afternoon, tomorrow, Thursday.
Netflix tonight.
Right, but so JB Hunt last night reporting their Q2 EPS beat, their Q2 sales beat. No real surprise, obviously, right? U.S. economy in comeback mode and demand sky.
Where's the bounce?
It hasn't really been there, and it wasn't there after hours either. And we've been hammered into the report too. I mean, this is a reopening stock to a certain extent as well. It's a little bit of both, I guess, because obviously online shopping, I guess. But JB Hunt Transport Major, it's a reopening play. 155. That's the level. That's the huge, absolutely super duper support level. I don't think you even got close to there in the after hours session, but if you were to get down there, that would be the first level I would think it would bounce at. But not saying it's going there, just giving you a level.
And, the other thing, too, that I probably should have pounded more when we were talking about some of these transports, JB Hunt, also the airlines. And I know Frank Holmes said a lot of these airlines, due to hedging with the fuel cost and everything. But if you want to look like for another reason why, these airline stocks, I mean, fuel is a huge expense, a huge component of it. And with that, we were talking about gas prices this morning, and there you go. So maybe with, if you're looking for a bottom in these airlines, did hit some monthly levels yesterday. It hasn't been a very fruitful play on the upside, but maybe if crude's coming off, gets back to, $60 and help the airlines a little bit. I mean, I think the main thing obviously is the Delta variant and, what the extent. It seems like everyone was worried about it yesterday. No one's worried about it today. So a lot of different things that have to be sorted out in this market.
I mean, yeah, it's what everybody's been talking about. And is this just, the question, is this just a snapback rally, or is this, building on yesterday's afternoon rally and we're going right back to the highs? Still to be determined. Was yesterday's sell-off overdone? Probably in the short term. I mean, some of these reopening stocks I even tweeted out are massively oversold. But you make a great point. I mean, there's a lot of things working against Carnival Cruise Lines. There's a lot of things working against the airlines right now. And the fuel cost, which nobody's talking about, is substantial as well. You were talking about filling up your car yesterday at the pumps. I mean, on the water in Canada, they're charging $1.60, $1.70 a liter. I've never seen it that high. Really? So, and then at the fuel, we're $1.30 in Ontario for a liter. That's as high as we've been in a long time. So fuel costs, if we're paying a higher at the pumps, the airlines are paying higher prices, the cruise lines are paying higher prices. They're not having as many customers, obviously, on their ships and on their planes, so margins are getting squeezed there too. It's not great news. So the fall in the USO yesterday is helpful, but is it enough?
What day did Carnival do their offering? The stock had hit that monthly resistance and then pulled back. And I'm going to take a guess here, and I'm going to say it was July Yeah, which one?
Yeah.
July 6th, maybe?
No, they announced it on June 28th was
June
when
28th.
wow is when they announced the most recent.
And it's been straight down since then too. I mean, this is just it's oversold. There's no doubt, but they got problems. There's no doubt there's problems there too. One, not everybody's that excited to go on a cruise ship when there's this Delta variant flying around. So I don't know. Like it's kind of ground zero. We always talked when we were talking COVID before, the stocks that are getting hammered the most are the airlines and the cruise lines, even the casinos. That's where they were getting hit. The movie theaters were getting hit then too. But is Delta variant? Is it? I mean, nobody knows the answer to this question, but I mean, that's the question that's got to be answered for the cruise lines. Are the vaccines fully, they're obviously helpful against it, but is this just going to continue to spread? Because it doesn't look like we're going to get it in check. It doesn't feel like we're going to just all of a sudden one day wake up and we beat COVID and it's gone forever. It feels like we're going to live with some type of variant for the foreseeable future and maybe for a long, long time. Is the Delta variant, they were asking the questions more on CNBC, is this, as fatal as the original one was? What are the answers to those questions? Because if it's just like a little bit worse than the normal flu, then that's not that bad. But if it's the fatality rate is as high as the original COVID was, then that's a major concern. So, I mean, that's the question that's got to get answered. And I don't know if the scientists have the answers for those questions yet.
I remember, I don't know if it was Joel who said this, or it may have even been Lisa when we had her on the show back a year ago. But that's what she was saying, right, Joel? She was like, we're probably going to live with this for years. I remember her saying
it's obviously not going away. We're not. It's the problem is it's going to continue, and this Delta variant apparently is more transmissible. Somebody was saying that one person can affect 8 other people. I mean, it's very, very transmissible. And I guess there is people who are vaccinated that are still getting it too. So it's not like the vaccinations are perfect, but they're helping because apparently the people who are getting sick, really, really sick, are typically unvaccinated people. So it's helping you fight it off better. But I mean, if it comes down and it's just a little worse than the normal flu, this great reopening is going to happen. If the Delta variant proves to be just as fatal and lethal as the original COVID was a year ago, where it's killing 1% of people who get it, that's real bad for the cruise lines and the airlines, because you know what? It's not going to be the Delta variant we're talking about next year. It's going to be the next variant. I mean, this thing is just not going to go away. The vaccines help, but there's going to be a large portion of the population that's never going to get vaccinated. They don't believe in it, which is, not for me. I mean, obviously, I've been fully vaccinated.
Everyone has a right to do.
Everyone has their own, and we're not challenging that on this show. We're not going to get political on this show. But if the whole population, if there's a good chunk that's not vaccinated, or a good chunk, or if the vaccines aren't working perfectly, I can't envision how we just get rid of COVID. So we have to learn to live with it. But if you're learning to live with COVID, are we packing Disney World? Are we packing those cruise lines? I mean, it all depends, I guess, on how sick you get from it. If it's just like the normal flu, we probably get back to eventually what we were before 2019, before 2020, like some type of normal. But if it's the fatality rate's higher, I don't think those cruise lines are going to get as packed as they used to be. I don't think Disney World's going to get as packed as it used to be, which turns me off a little bit on the Disney trade, which I've been talking about Disney at 170. It's getting darn close to there now. I don't know. There's so many unknowns, and that's where the whole market is right now. There's all unknowns, and that's why we're whipping around.
And
nobody has the answers to these questions.
Nothing. Are we overheating? Are we inflationary? Are interest rates going up? Or are
confusion?
Or is the economy slowing and we need lower rates? I mean, no one knows what the hell's going on.
That's pretty much it. That pretty much sums it up. It's mass confusion all over the place. And that's why you're seeing the market, we're up big one day and we're down big the next. And then they're looking, okay, well, let's buy the lockdown stocks like Peloton, ripping higher yesterday.
Yep.
Zoom would have ripped higher if it didn't have that deal. But the lockdown stocks were ripping higher yesterday. Even some, there was quite a few stocks. I mean,
the
it was
old
a tech
dogs.
rally.
Lake.
Look at Kathy yesterday. I mean, she's full of, a lot of, tech, into the growth tech, and the money was flying back into those stocks yesterday. after it was coming out. The rotation is wicked. On any given day, the rotation is very, very wicked. So, and if you're on the wrong side of it, it's ugly. And if you're on the right side of it, it's awesome. So, I mean, identifying that rotation early always seems to be critical. Today yesterday morning, we had like a everything sell-off, and then they decided they wanted to buy the growth names, and a lot of those closed green, the Cathy names. Today, we got an everything rally, so we haven't seen the separation here yet. You can look IWM up 0.8%, QQQ up 0.4%, cats and dogs living happily together. But, you know, we don't know what's going to happen here after the open. There's probably going to be separation again. And if, as a trader, you've got to identify that rotation or as early as you can, and that gives the opportunity to extract some alpha from, you know, from that rotation.
We didn't even talk about the fact that, you know, the bond market is saying one thing. I mean, the bond market is at its lowest point. 10-year yields at its lowest point in what, 5 months?
People piled in cash, Spencer. That's what it is. It's the fear trade. TLT is at a 151. You know, you can say the Fed is behind, but it's the fear trade. I mean, if you thought the Fed were raising interest rates, imminently raising interest rates, you're not piling into the TLT. So, I mean, there's fear. This is a fear trade that's been happening in the TLT. Fear that we don't know where it's going. I'm going to cash. The U.S. dollar has ripped higher. I mean, that's a fear gauge too. When the U.S. dollar starts ripping higher, you often, you know, that's a gauge of fear as well. People fly to the U.S. dollar for safety. So there is a fear trade that's been happening here. I don't know if that continues. That's a little crowded too now. You know, and maybe that was coming off yesterday, at least, you know, when we saw, you know, the growth names, and then they were starting to buy the growth names. But it is a very tricky market to call day to day. Doug Cassoy says the market with no memory day to day. I mean, that's what we're in right now. This market, it changes its mind on a dime, and the rotation changes its mind very quickly. It's a tricky market to trade.
How about the open yesterday? Didn't it, you know, it looked like, this is by the dip. Oh, this is by the dip. And then, oh no, it wasn't. I mean, the buyers did come in. I mean, what's nice about when the market does this and has pullbacks, I mean, no one likes to see their portfolio have a haircut, but at least you got some reference points now, right? You got retracements, you got daily highs, you got closes, you got, you know, things that you can look at instead of, like, you know, doing my levels, just putting question marks, you know, above things and basing it on the average daily ranges. I mean, so this is good. And now the follow through, I mean, everyone is primed here. Everyone was bought the dip yesterday. They're being rewarded today. Important to get some follow through. And then on the downside, did you miss the dip? Did you miss the ultimate bottom here at 42.24, and we're going to 4,400? So then you got the people that, gosh, oh man, I should have been buying yesterday. So the rips down are not going to be like the flushes that you had yesterday. So overall, I mean, not great, you know, performance by the market, but at least you have some things to lean on now and areas to look at. Crude just goes red here. Boy, unchanged. I'm a little worried about that crude. I mean, after that down day yesterday, sometimes you get at least some kind of a rebound. And yes, the futures are leaking too. Did we have any 8:30 data there, Spencer, or are we just talking bearish on the show?
We had like building permits and housing starts this week. I don't know if we care about that. Speaking of, who's having a good morning? AMC's having a good morning, almost at 36.
Who said? Someone in the chat said we were bearish, and I don't know. I mean, overall we were bearish, but there was like 4 stocks we talked about yesterday that were potential buys. And Dennis,
NVIDIA, we got that one right.
That was you.
We hammered that one.
Okay.
There was a couple other stocks.
Amazon, fill in the gap.
I don't think I talked to Amazon yesterday.
Yep, get down to 3,500. And then AMC, I mean, the thing, whatever the fundamentals are in this thing, I don't know. But we know
the fundamentals. It's not $35 a share. It's all a matter of story. So again, we're going to get Nick on here in a second. But, there's fundamentals, value investing, and then there's story-driven momentum trading. Those, tend to go back and forth even on individual stocks. But AMC is a pure storied stock. Story's going to get hot again. Story's going to go cold. Okay, we're opening up some movie theaters in LA or something like that. I saw a headline go by.
the two historic theaters that had closed because of COVID, and they just bought them.
Well, I mean, they have all this extra money, right? So
right,
they're paying out
exactly.
debt and
What else are they
expanding.
supposed to do with it?
Yeah, they're a movie theater company. They
Right.
do more movie theaters. So it's the stock rebounded nicely. It had a little cut through. It basically held the lows, the 32.14, 31.15. It bucked through it. It kind of held on. It held above 30, and that was critical. So that's good news. That's good news so far. Am I coming in here and putting all my money in AMC? No, because I don't know when fundamentals catch up with it. So it's going to have story. It's going to have pops. It's going to have rallies. I'm still going to say a year from now, I think when I look at AMC, I think it's significantly lower. I don't know the path for it to get there, though. So that's why I'm out. But I would have thought GME would have came in by now, too, and GME has held up. So these two stocks, they're so storied, they're so carried by social media that can last a long time. And, this social media trading is still relatively early. It's not decades of experience. It's a few years where social media can, obviously very much influence the stock price and take you away from any type of fundamental analysis. Let's bring on Nick, though. Let's talk with Nick here.
Nick,
just real quick before that, this AMC, you have a different complexion here in the stock, though, because you got the 40 to 70 hodlers, right? And you were rewarded. I mean, that's a daily, man. That was one day and then the next day down. But now, if this gets back to 50, if this gets back to 40, I'm getting out. And for sure, if it gets to 50, I'm getting out. So you got that
overhead supply.
Yeah, overhead supply. I should have put the date on that one there. S&P's just a slow leak here. Nothing to get alarmed about. Still up nearly 18 handles at 42.69 and a quarter.
Nick said in the private chat, wait, what did he just say? He goes, man, we have never disagreed this much before. Well, let's
come on in.
Let's go. Nick,
no, I'm going to take a break.
That's okay. We like disagreements.
I actually said, what the when you guys were talking. I couldn't
about what?
I don't know. A whole bunch of stuff.
Okay, right. Tell us, please.
So the first one was the fact that vaccination is a political thing. Like if I said I didn't get vaccinated, you're making me a political statement.
I think
we did. That was chat. Are you listening to what we're saying, Nick, or are you looking at the chat?
I think you can commonly interchange the terms political thing and social thing. It's a social thing, but they're used interchangeably.
It's not a social thing.
It's semantics.
I don't buy first generation software.
Okay.
I don't buy first generation software. I'm not going to put a vaccine that was rushed.
That's your right. We gave you that right. I don't think. Okay. I'm going to get upset here, Nick, because we did not say that.
You did.
We specifically said you have your own right.
You said we're not going to get political when you said we're not going to talk about vaccination.
And Nick, I'm saying it's semantics. You're saying it's political, right. It's a social. It's
but the disagreement was on the tickers that you guys were talking about. So yesterday I had my biggest day of the year. And I'll tell you why. Because I listened to the memes that people were chasing in the stock market. And I saw a lot of mistakes based on my own thesis. I traded my thesis and I was right on all counts. Oil was a fake rally because of Goldman Sachs rhetoric. The news desk came out with a note, it's going to 80. The trading desk traded that, got to 80, and then suddenly they changed their mind, and then it takes a dump. I shorted it when it got to 70, shorted the oil stocks, shorted the USO, won on all counts. Same with the banks, rallying on the back of yields. Yields going to the moon. No, they're not. They can't. The TLT will be bid forever for as long as the U.S. bonds pay a yield like they do. And it's like a catch-22. The higher the yield goes, the bigger the bid for the TLT. So I went long the TLT and shared it. Big, huge payout yesterday. The whole notion of chasing the bank stocks based on the rising. And I shorted all the banks. Shorted Bank of America once. Shorted Goldman Sachs like 6 times, and they were all winners. The last one I closed yesterday was a credit call spread at 380 for August. So if you use your logic, like the oil thing, logic says we're driving less, we're flying less. Those are facts. They're not my opinion. We're going to EVs. That's also a fact. All the car companies said that. We have more oil supply than we will ever need, and the price is going to go up. On what planet? So shorted my thesis. Big payout yesterday. The most important thing this week for us was watching the IWM. I was on vacation last week, but I still was looking at the price action. So this week, the focus, is on the IWM. Last week, the focus was also on the IWM for exactly the opposite, because on the weekly basis, they had a breakout potential and they failed. So now I'm looking for the breakdown potential, and they're like teetering. So if today's rally fails, look for the IWM price action to gauge the markets.
Well, that's sort of what we were saying.
I don't understand why he was like saying like I don't understand. Okay,
Well,
yeah, those arguments. What were we saying that was so wrong and bad?
Well, your conversation. I didn't say bad. The conversation this morning, I was listening to Joe.
You were saying,
example,
what the F are we talking about? So I want to know what that pertained.
That was for the political thing. Well, that was for the political thing.
That was one throwaway remark.
Okay,
so are you gonna let me? Are you gonna let me explain, or are you just gonna interrupt? Okay.
Go ahead.
So the political thing caused a reaction from me because I tied the two together. However you meant them, that's how they came out. Rewind it and you listen to it, and you'll be on the same page. The disagreement was the fact that there is a sense of like, what the hell's going on here? Like Joel was talking about how oil is falling out of bed. It should. It doesn't belong
Nick, you've
up
been
here.
saying that since $40, though. You've been
No,
bearish
no, you're
oil
wrong. You're
since
wrong.
$40.
You're wrong. Rewind. I said 52 to 55 is the balance that works for OPEC. That was my price. I've been stuck on that price for more than a year. And I didn't short it. I said it belongs there, but I didn't short it until it hit 70. And then I shorted it. I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to fight the meme. But when it gets to a level that's shortable, I stepped up to the plate and I put my money. I'm on record. It's not like I'm making the shit up. I'm telling you my thesis against the meme. And if you trade your own logic with the charts, you're going to beat the media.
Wait,
and that's what's going on. And you know what's the biggest threat? It's not the variant. It's not the Delta variant. It's the political hands at B that would lock or not lock. That's what broke the market, not the disease. It's the lockdown.
Why is oil shortable at 70? I think it's what you said, and not where you thought it was, not at 60 or not at 65.
Well, when it started rallying, it broke out. Technically, I don't short breakouts. There was a high that was beat, and then there's an extension that's a measured move from the breakout. So why would I want to argue with that? Let it run its course. And when it hits the measured move, I'll step in, and that's what I did. So it's plain simple. So when oil broke out of 67 or 68, that was a prior top that stood from a while back. I'd be a fool to short it. But then it had its extension above 70 and it started stalling. It had one last burst. I shorted that again. First, I shorted the CVX 2 or 3 times. I won. And then when it took the second burst, I shorted the USO. I sold the call spread at 51. It got into hot water for 1 day. I stood in it, and then it collapsed.
Okay, so going forward here, what that was all backward looking, but going forward, what are you looking at?
For oil, it has support through 62.50. So if it falls to 62.50-ish, it's a buyable dip. From the it has a big consolidation zone. It has a volume profile that has a lot of action there. So below this week's low, or below 65, it has a lot of support from the price action. Price is truth. Opinion is out the door. I think it should be lower. I won't short it. I got my money. It's falling into support. I'm not going to argue with it. As far as the S&P, that's one red tick on a weekly basis we've had, and yesterday's pain. And now suddenly everybody wants to buy the dip. It's one red tick, people. One red tick. If you pull up a weekly chart, if you just revert to the mean, reverting to the mean is a 10% drop in the S&P. Not the end of the world. In fact, if it drops 20%, it would still be in the hands of the bulls because it's still in an ascending channel. So we have to get perspective. And all these stocks that are hitting low, I totally agree with you on the cruise line from a technical perspective. The stocks are falling into a strong base. But guess what? If the S&P corrects, everything is going to correct too. So whatever your conviction is, I would knock it down because we don't know what we don't know. These have never happened before. Plus the reverse repo that's going on from the Fed, that's a QT, not QT type of a thing. You remember the not QE, QE? Well, this is a not QT, QT that they did. Not many people are talking about that. The reverse pawn shop they were running. So there's a lot of things going on that we need to not listen to the quote experts in the media, but because they're not experts. This stuff has never happened before. We're on a level field. You go out and do your homework and make your own opinion and trade your own charts.
I think we can agree about that we're in uncharted waters, right? As far as the macro situation, as far as everything, public health, macro, we've obviously never been here before, and that's why there's so much confusion, because we basically intentionally threw ourselves into a economic recession and then intentionally dragged ourselves out of it, right?
I disagree with the confusion part. It's clear as day for me that there's like, what is it now? I lost track. $7 trillion in the economy from stimulus programs, plus another 1.3 trillion this week that not many people are talking about. The $300 per child for 6 months, and then a 6 month spiff for the rest, $1,800 next year. That is another 1.26, I think, trillion dollars on a yearly basis. I read that it's 104 or 105 billion a month. That is an insane amount of money. You can't fight that. So everything is artificially high, and it's going into a diminishing return. When all this tailwind disappears, there's going to be a void of push from behind. What's going to happen to the equities?
We don't know when that will happen.
No, right? We do know when that will happen. It's abating. Nothing extra is coming. All the programs are out there, and Wall Street prices everything forward, right? So we know the taper is coming. It's a matter of when. Wall Street looks out ahead and decides what they want to do. We know that all the stimulus is gone. This, I think, is the last one, plus the whatever they're arguing over as far as fiscal spending, 1.2, whatever they can't pass. So we will have we have a deal headlines coming. And then what? So eventually, they can't spend more than 10 trillion, could they? I mean, where the fudge is the money coming from? Who's going to pay for it?
They get the other money to spend, Nick. I mean, they seem to manufacture. I mean, they print it.
Comes from here.
They just print it. They don't need to worry about where it comes from.
I like Spencer. It's come from here. Yeah,
just print it, man. Just go. Just get some new ink.
You can't defy the laws of physics. That bullshit is going to end.
Right.
There's no way. So anyway,
so you're bearish.
I am not. I was very short, but I still took longs. Hey, see how I trade I took long in oil stocks yesterday. Okay, so I'm not like a poo-poo oil all the way. I saw a good level. I took a bet on it. All right, so it's just I'm trading what I'm seeing, the only truth, the charts. So if a stock hits, like yesterday, I said, okay, Uber looks good here based on one of the tools that you guys bring upon, the market structure edge. So I have a little filter looking for oversold things that have bottomed from a sentiment perspective. Like, okay, this popped up. Ooh, I like this company. I went to the chart. It looks like it hit a bottom. So I went long with a tight stop. If that bottom fails, I'm wrong. I get out. If not, I catch a swing up. So use the charts, use logic, use fundamentals, combine everything. You make the fewer amount of mistakes. Follow the headlines, follow the fear, variant this and variant that. And then you're going to make mistakes based on emotions. The Delta variant is not the problem. It's what we do with it. If we lock down again, that's a huge
I think it's
problem.
pretty much people have come to the conclusion that people are not going to do that. That's not, that to me, the general consensus is
they can't afford it. There is no way they can shut us down. We have no more money to reflate the economy. We're done. We're done. That's it. We blew our wad. No, we can't shut down because we can't reflate. So we don't have a choice. Even if we get something like the Ebola, we can't shut down.
Why can't the Fed just print more money again? I mean, we went from, wherever the deficit is of 28 trillion. I mean, what's the matter at this point in time? Why can't we go to 100 trillion? I mean, seriously, it's a serious question.
I don't think they can do it. My opinion is they can't do it. That's my opinion. I will trade it. I will trade my opinion that we won't lock down, which means I will buy the dip.
I don't think that. I don't think that's that hot of a take that we're not going to lock down. We all generally kind of agree. I think a lot of people would be surprised if we lock down that.
Los Angeles locked down.
I maybe pockets here and there, but I think most people would be surprised if we redid
Australia lockdown.
Okay. I still maintain that's not that hot of a take. Nick Chahine is the author of Creating Income with Option Spreads. You can find his newsletter. The link is in the description of this video. Nick, thanks a lot. Always fun, sometimes controversial, and stay fiery.
Hey, I appreciate it. Later.
Yeah.
NVIDIA goes red here, down $1.82. So that is quickly eroding. Someone put in the chat like, I can buy it under 200. Yeah, you can buy it way under 200 because it just had a 4-for-1 stock split. So NVIDIA on the retreat here, down 227.
I mean, we're giving you actionable ideas on that NVIDIA. I didn't trade any of this, but I mean, the run up yesterday, the sell off today. I mean, the actionable ideas are all over here today on NVIDIA, at least anyway. So we get some stuff right. We get some stuff wrong, apparently. But I mean, this NVIDIA,
Everything,
we absolutely, we just gave it to you 188.5. It's 185.5. So we give you some pretty good ideas.
And what do we say the fair value was? 187.80? Right.
That's where the close is.
That's
Yeah, 187.80 adjusted close.
That's a
down
big
$3.
number
This
now.
was a textbook trade. I mean, you can use Nick's a chartist. He uses a lot of charts. I try to use a little bit of everything. I got the quantitative approach to it, but I try to use history as a tell. Typically, on split days, we don't see it very often because you don't see splits like you used to. Typically, they start strong and they end up closing weak. We couldn't even hold green through the pre-market though. So just as much as I said I'd sell it if I had it $3 ago, I still wouldn't be buying it here. I don't know if I don't think you're going to go all the way to yesterday's low. That would be a long ways to go down to 178, but there's nothing to look forward to now. We don't have the split to look forward to now. So that was an easy call.
I mentioned this at the very end of yesterday's show, and I'm going to say it again every day this week. Watching CCIV, it closed green yesterday. The merger vote is Friday. Watching a run up into the vote. CCIV turned around yesterday at like 9:45 or so.
Yeah.
I'm just watching that. That's all I'm saying. Is that I'll say it again tomorrow, and I'll say it again on Thursday.
This was also, a beneficiary of the growth trade. That growth trade that we were talking about. Those stocks are Cathy stocks. Not that this is a Cathy stock, but it's grouped into that, where you've got obviously not a lot of cash flow here yet, but the future cash flows, the super growth trade here, that benefited from that as well. So big turnaround, all those stocks yesterday. Those were the first stocks that got bought, the growth stocks yesterday morning. That actually rally has continued here this morning. So when's the vote?
Friday.
So we're still early. I don't think that's the catalyst for yesterday's rally. I think it was just the fact that you started coming in and buying growth and buying those names.
We'll find out maybe today.
That was a tough one, Tat, because based on the pre-market action, you definitely, you breached the pre-market low, and then if you were holding out for $20, you got you got shut out. But that 22 was a big level just because it breached it and came back above it. Now it's way above it. So 3 or 4 lows in the same area had that discount off the open. But I'm sure a lot of people were hoping for closer to 20. Actually, 1978 was your June 1st low. Continuing to leak here. I don't know if we had any numbers, but little 2A action here in the market. We're still 10 points off the low, 11 points off the low of the section.
Let's do some ticker time for the last 10 minutes of the show today. Somebody actually just asked about Roku a minute ago. It's been a couple of days since we looked at you, so we can look at it right now.
Nice snapback rally yesterday. Again, those stocks, those were the ones they were buying, those high-tech growth stocks. That's what they were buying. Open near the lows, close near the highs. Netflix being down here this morning. I'm not sure why the Netflix headline. I always still kind of keep an eye on Netflix with Roku. It's very loose. It used to be a lot tighter relationship. It's still loosely related though, so I never like buying Roku when Netflix is down. But I mean, Roku, it was getting some love yesterday. I think if it pulls back, I think you'll probably find some buyers from people who are like, oh, it was a nice rally, 16 points from the low yesterday. So you got maybe a couple people caught short, but also a couple people that probably want to be long. So you get down here 400. I think you got good support.
Okay. All right. And you know what? This is going also from Beer Guy. Thank you. Let's look at Rocket because there's, I believe, a downgrade on Rocket this morning. Did I remember that correctly? Yes, a downgrade from Wedbush to underperform. We haven't talked Rocket for a hot minute on the show, so I have frankly no idea what I assume it's sideways. Oh, not really.
No, it's down 60 cents.
This is a tough stock. I mean, you keep thinking the valuation's cheap, and it is, but it just never, it gets some love from Reddit, that lifts it up, and then it comes right back in. You have massive support down here in the 16 area. So you're coming into the big support. I would think it bounces there the first time, but this stock just cannot seem to get it going. I've said before, I think they should. They've got enough steady cash flow that I think they should put a regular dividend in. I think you'd have value investors starting to come back and look at this thing then, because this is actually a stock that could be a value stock.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah. And, a lot of these Reddit stocks and a lot of, are growth stocks, are different, storied stocks. Rocket could be a value stock, but when people see a value investor looks and see a 0% dividend, they're not interested. Those value investors like to get paid. So I think if Rocket put a dividend in there and had a 2-3% yielder on it, I think you'd start to find some support and you get a different type of investor in there. So RKT, great support down here at 16. I hope one day they put a dividend in, because then, that could turn the stock around.
You know what we talked about for a long time with this stock, and what kept me out of it on the long side is that you had the greatest, environment, right? Like the housing market just exploding, low interest rates, and this thing did have some pops off the IPOs. But what better environment could you have had?
And that's what made this. You're right, Joel, and that's also what made this so strange in the first place, to see it picked up on Reddit, because GameStop, AMC don't have the greatest fundies. This is a company with like real fundamentals. I know, real cash flow coming in, right? Real prospects for growth, and it was strange. But and you're right. We're sort of in the perfect storm for a company like this. I guess maybe the implication is the housing market can only cool down, but that's not true. It can keep getting hotter. We all know that. Elsewhere on the ratings front, there really wasn't much today. Joel, your old favorite, Simon Property Group, got an upgrade this morning from Stifel to buy.
How's SPG doing?
Got hammered yesterday. So the Stifel's buying the dip.
Yeah.
That was an ugly candle, but you got nice support now. You'll have it yesterday's low 115. So for whatever reason it starts to come in, you're going to find buyers down there in the 115 area. This is a value stock. It's got a 4.71% dividend. I agree with Nick. I don't think we're going back in a lockdown. I don't think we're in any situation like we were back in March of 2020. I don't think it's even remotely close to that. Which is why, I'm just neutral, but I'm cautious. And I'm cautious on, the stocks like the cruise lines or the airlines, because, there's multiple issues here.
Unknowns.
We're not going back to where we were, where they're shutting this stuff down, but is everybody jumping on to take a cruise? That's the question, if the COVID's going to be there. So it wasn't a question of let's lock everything down and, we've got, major problems here. It's a question of, do I want to own the cruise lines and the airlines if there's still a portion of the population that's going to be spooked to go and do stuff like that?
It's going to be less. It's going to be less forever.
That's what I think.
I want to say forever, but fundamentally, I mean, you could talk about, what happened in the past year. It's accelerated change that was already there. People weren't going to the movies before the pandemic, right? People were streaming at home. So it just accelerated trends. And I think that, to look at these airlines and these cruise lines, I mean, they had their run. They had their relief rally. I mean, they'll get back to levels and everything. But I just people's fundamental outlook on things has changed. It's more important to fix up your house than it is to go to Disney World. It's more important to drive somewhere on a vacation and not have to deal with airports and security and everything. I mean, there's just a lot of fundamental things changing. And obviously, it's being reflected in the market. And obviously, technology is going to be there no matter what. And those stocks have shown that.
Well, at what point do people start to like this other stuff better, too? I mean, there's a case to be made. Like, I've never been one for camping. I've never been one for,
not yet. But, you just don't know it yet.
But I mean, you
mean no stuff. Cable, Dennis?
That's I rented that. We rented that, that motorhome or whatever we rented last year. It was fun. Something I would never have done if not for COVID. And now I tried that. I was like, I mean, not that they're going to convert me into a camper, but at the same time, it's like I'm not opposed to that now. So you've got competition, for that as well. Like some people, there's literally people that go on cruises. They go every single year. I mean, this is what we do. But now they're trying other things. Maybe they're not going to be going on the cruise every single year. There will always be a few people that are going to go on a cruise every single year, but there's people that are trying and doing other things. And, and that's to say, I don't know if that's a good thing for the cruise industry. There's a lot of reasons not to own the cruise lines.
There are retirees that live on cruises. They just go from cruise to cruise to cruise.
It sounds fun.
I'm not making that up. That's the thing.
No, I believe it. It sounds fun.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're retired and obviously, and maybe a trade, you could be a trader on the cruise lines too. But there's a lot of things working against the cruise lines right now. That being said, I've said it yesterday. I tweeted yesterday. They're oversold. A lot of this stuff is oversold. CCL is oversold. So they're due for a bounce. This reopening trade, like, it's funny, when it comes on, but I was kind of on the same side as him yesterday. I mean, I've been saying the reopening trade is oversold. It's oversold. They have hammered these stocks like it is 2020. Like, this Delta variant's going to lock us all down again. I don't believe that's the case at all. Which is why, I'm kind of interested in some of these reopening stocks. I might avoid the cruise lines, but maybe the casinos, maybe some of the hotels. What about Airbnb? I mean, it's kind of both. I mean, Airbnb is a stock that just, it's down here again, Joel, at a huge level, $130. Huge level. Huge level.
Joel, do you want to come with me to Chicago? We can go and rent out Scottie Pippen's house on Airbnb to watch the Olympics. You want to go with me? It's $92 a night.
$92 a night?
Yeah. You want to go?
I'll pass.
That's a no. All right.
I think the Airbnb is a play. The valuation's always been nuts. So, but if we all of a sudden are going to start buying higher valuation stocks, where some of the growth names, I mean, Airbnb wins it kind of won during the pandemic to a certain extent, and it kind of wins. Is it a reopening player? Or is it not?
It's both.
I mean, it's an alternative to hotels, which makes it kind of work, if we are getting concerned about staying in a hotel, but it also works as a reopening play, people traveling more. I think Airbnb has been massively oversold here. I mean, we're down in 1 month from 157 down to 131. That's a nice 20% fall. Maybe there's a case here to be long a stock like Airbnb down here at the support. What do you think?
I mean, it's weird because the IPO low, it got to 121.53 in that wild first month, but I had to discount that level now, and I'll just say it's all about this 130. 129.71 was a low. You had a couple low. Yesterday's low. The only thing that's concerning is that it's down here and it's kind of hanging out down here.
Yeah.
So if it can hang out a couple more days, then, give yourself some room. It doesn't take out the 130. If not, maybe reload closer. But there's definitely some major buying interest at 130.
It's held that support. It held it again. Now you're 133. So you're a little ways off it. But if you back and fill a little bit, get this thing at 132 today, maybe you take a shot. I mean, I'm sitting with a lot of cash. There's just a lot of unknowns. But, a stock like this, at major support, you got a level to lean on. So it's going 127. Okay. Well, I'm going to get out and cut the loss. But, maybe it doesn't undercut and rally and gets you there. But it's right there. 130 is major support.
All right.
I don't mind the story.
Sorry, guys. Got a little overtime here. I'm going to hop off, go to pre-market prep.
Plus,
cover a lot of symbols that we missed. So, Spencer, see you at 3:30.
Yeah, we're going to hop off, too, because Jeff Bezos is set to fly to space in 10 minutes. So, we're going to be watching that. This stream is going to redirect to that. And then at 9:25, we'll, of course, have David.
Keep an eye on the space stock, too, just for fun. I mean, through this flight. And it'll be interesting. I think you're going to see some major reactions in SPCE. From the Blue Origin flight here. So I see a little bit of smoke getting ready to go. So it's kind of exciting.
It is exciting.
Lots of excitement. There's always lots of excitement here on Pre-Markets Prep. Some good, some bad, always lots of excitement. I had a bunch of levels, and I'm just going to stay with you for an extra couple minutes here, Spencer.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with you just for a couple more minutes because I had a bunch of levels I want to talk about. I had Rocket on my list at 16. I had Airbnb 130. We already talked those. But I'm just looking at major support levels where, we've pulled back a lot and, there is some support. Goldman Sachs bounced off its 348 to 350 yesterday. Company just makes money like crazy. I mean, works in probably all environments to a certain extent. This is a reopening trade and they've been hitting it. Another one was Win. I tweeted this one yesterday to somebody who was asking about it. I was like, I love that $100 level. It opened right there at 125 and then bounced. So I kind of like the Win at $100. Disney 170. DIS is huge at 170. It's a reopening play, but it does have the Disney Plus, which gives it a little bit of help from a potential lockdown as well, which is not, I don't believe is going to happen. But 170 I like on Disney. Sonos, SONO. I bounced right off of the May lows yesterday, 31.22. Yesterday's low, 31.06. So bounced right where it should have at 31. I like this stock too. So what I was doing was putting together a shopping list. I haven't bought any of these stocks yet, so everybody guess can get ahead of me on them. But they're all on the list here for stocks to potentially buy. The only one I did buy yesterday, I did buy something in the swing trade portfolio. I forget.
A rare buy in this.
Yeah, I did. I bought something. I don't remember what it was though.
It was.
I've been selling stocks.
It was Winnebago.
No. I might have to go. Oh, you know what I bought was Virtue Financial. Virtue Financial, VIRT.
How many times have you lost money on Virtue Financial?
Not very many, actually. It's been a good one, Virtue Financial.
All right.
That's why I keep going back into it. But I actually sold it. I always complain because I sell it too soon, Spencer. So I bought from 22 to 25, and it has pissed me off. It went all the way to 32. It came back into the 25, and I'm like, I'm getting my Virtue Financial back. Okay. High frequency trading firm. They benefit from increased volatility. So it's interesting that the market hasn't priced any of that. But if we start to see the VIX start to climb, it helps trading firms. It helps our firm. It helps Virtue Financial as well. So they do benefit from, the one wild card with VIRT is if they start attacking payment for order flow farther, because they do benefit from payment for order flow arrangements, obviously. So that's, one potential downside on VIRT is if they get some regulation on payment for order flow. But other than that, 3.71% dividend. I'm familiar, with the trading business. So it's a company I've wanted back in my portfolio for a while. Came low enough that I did buy back into this one. So I'm definitely catching a falling knife on this, but I'm comfortable. I felt like putting this one back in my portfolio. So that was the only one I bought yesterday. But all those other ones on my list, so Goldman 350, Rocket 16, Win 100, Disney 170, Sonos 31. I put Maxar on the list as well. A little bit lower than it is now, 27 to 28. It hasn't got quite down there, MAXR. So that was a Mitch pick from a while ago. I always like to have a few Mitch picks. Corsair, people have asked me about CRSR. It just hasn't. I want to own this stock, but it just keeps going down. So I need like a couple lows in a row. Like, give me a chance. Like, I don't want to catch the falling knife. I like to have I don't buy on day one usually, except I did with that Virtue Financial. I usually buy it after it's, 28, and then it rallies a little bit and it comes back to retest. And then I try to buy on the retest where I have a level to lean on. But I kind of like the Corsair story. I still like the gaming story, but it's just keeps going down. So it's one on my list, but I haven't figured out where I'm buying that yet. Fisker is also on my list to get it back. I sold it here at 15. It's back to where I sold it FSR. I do believe in EVs. I do believe in Fisker going forward too. I think FSR on this pullback might be a buying opportunity as well. So I gave you a whole pile of stocks here.
You just did. And real fast, Peloton spiking. They just announced, or UNH just announced, United Healthcare, that all UNH members, let me read from the headline here, all UNH members will receive a, where I have it, there we go, will receive a year-long access to the Peloton app. So PTO on moving here.
Pure lockdown. Trade yesterday. Obviously, I don't think we're going into lockdown, but those stocks were rallying yesterday. And Peloton did have a headline yesterday too, driving us 2 days in a row. 130 major resistance for this. It looks like it's wild right now. Maybe it's going to, test that level. That's where it just ticked up to back on July the 7th. I'm talking 129.70. That would be a logical stall out spot for it, the 130. But yeah. So, anyways. I'm going to go, though. I just stayed a couple extra minutes with you.
Thanks a lot, Dennis. Guys, we're going to hop off here because Bezos is going to space soon, and we want to watch that. So this stream will redirect to that live stream that we have going also on our channel. Real fast, if you missed yesterday, we had a couple of great interviews. We had Tim Draper on Moon or Bust, and we had John Scully on the Power Hour. Watch those if you haven't already. They were fantastic. Great job by our team to get those interviews. Okay, that's a wrap for me. Please remember, all the information from our show is meant to be used as informational purposes, not for investing or trading advice. Thanks to our guest, Nick Chahine. Thanks to all of you in our chat, the Benzinga.com chat, the YouTube chat, Twitter, Twitch, everyone. I'm going to hop off. We're going to redirect to the Bezos stream. David Green will be live at 9:25 to trade the open, as he is every Tuesday for us. We got SPAX Attack, Power Hour, Get Technical, Crypto Show. At the close is when you'll see me next on this stream. Everyone, good luck at the open, and let's make some money.